Right. So, is ASEA just overpriced salt water? Today, we're going to clear that up. So, welcome back to our No BS network marketing series. We skip the hype, ditch the matching t-shirts, and talk real talk. So, as you know, I'm Catherine, and I'm back today with my amazing friend and colleague Danielle Matthews. And today, Danielle, we're going to really be diving in deep into one of the biggest myths, the biggest sort of Google
Yep.
search answer that comes up about this fantastic product we love so much. Is it just salt water?
Yeah, it's funny. I think that it's probably the most common question that I've gotten over the last decade. And of course, like who wouldn't ask? We're trained to look at the labels on things, and the label says that the ingredients are sodium chloride and water. So a natural question is, well, could I just make this? Like, is it just salt and water? And the answer is, well, what goes in is saline, but what comes out is different. And it's just like I love how simple our body is. Like it uses salt water, saline. We're just sacks of saline to make a bunch of different molecules. And so we'll just dive a little bit into it so it can make sense for everybody. Salt is what?
Sodium
Sodium,
chloride,
right? And water, hydrogen.
hydrogen,
Oh, yep.
oxygen. We
Okay.
listened in our chemistry classes. Yeah.
Exactly. H2O. And so those end up being building blocks. And so the body, like nature is so elegant. So the body takes salt and it will break it apart. So now I've got sodium and chloride. It'll take water and it'll break it apart. And you've got, well, two hydrogens, right? And an oxygen. And then it will recombine. So think about like something that all of you probably have in your house right now, hydrogen peroxide,
Yeah.
H2O2. So you could say it's made from water. If you were to look at the ingredients of hydrogen peroxide, one could say it's made from water because it's the same building blocks. Okay. So what ASEA has to do is they need as pure salt as possible. So they get everything out of the salt except sodium chloride, and they pull everything out of the water. They take the minerals out, they take everything out because they just need the H2O. And then electrolysis, basically energy is supplied to it, bonds are ripped apart, new molecules are made that are different combinations of these building blocks. And that's where the term actually redox comes from, because when the molecules are made and they have a negative charge, it's known as a reductant. And if they have a positive charge, it's known as an oxidant. And so in the literature, they just kind of combine those words. They call them redox signaling molecules. And that's what's in ASEA. And Catherine, there was I did a little video showing like, hey, you could put a reagent in just salt water. Like if you want to go and try and make ASEA at home, good. Grab some salt, some water, try and make it. But this reagent will only react, right, if there's molecules that cause a reaction. And if you drop this reagent in salt water, nothing happens. If you drop it in regular water, nothing happens. If you drop it in ASEA, instantaneously it turns yellow, which can show us visually, oh, there's a reaction happening. Something is different in here. So we've restructured things to create what is ASEA, which is reductants and oxidants.
I love it. And what I'll do is I'll link Danielle's video in the description box below so you can all go and have a look at that. And I love the fact that people do read labels. I think it's so important and I love it. But equally, when we're thinking, we're both biologists, and when we think about how the body works, we all understand that we eat things and we drink things throughout the day, but it doesn't come out in the same form. Our body needs to break it down and recombine and do all sorts of clever things. And we're talking here about what the body's doing in a cellular level. And I'm going to share at the end, do a screen share for people, Danielle, where some of the places that they can really see some of the science and the video about how it's made. But it's great that people are asking questions, but equally, I would have to say that ASEA would win the Company of the Year award for if they'd managed to sell this much and have this many testimonials from just selling salt water from Salt Lake City,
I
then
know.
hats off
Like
to.
we're all crazy. Is it the placebo effect? Like, well, it's just glorified salt water. And I'm like, well, like you also have to think about the fact that governments have to approve the sale of this product and what's in it.
Yes.
And they also have had to, like, they go to third parties and they get it tested. And these third parties, like I know for a long time, they were using bioagilitics, which tests like, I think like 20 of the top 25 pharmaceutical companies to basically quality assure that, hey, what they say is in the pill is in the pill. So ASEA went to them because they were the top of the top in the industry for third-party testing. And they said, hey, test our product for the presence of redox signaling molecules. And bioagilitics put the stamp on there. And they did. And I think recently, maybe in the last year or so, they've now switched to a company, I think over in Europe, because they have more sophisticated, they're able to do more with Redox. And so they're actually helping the company not only verify, but do a little bit more research. So it's, yes, it's good to be educated and look at labels, but also like sometimes you got to understand that we're talking something different here because we're talking at the molecular level, which goes like beyond an ingredient.
And I think also I love the analogy. It's like, look, most of us have made a loaf of bread or a cake, and into the cake you'll put flour, you'll put water, you'll put sugar, you'll put eggs and other ingredients. But when the cake comes out, they don't look like flour, water. They're different. They taste different. They've got a different chemical structure. Your body deals with it differently. So it's a great question for people to ask, but I think people, if they're really examining their health in any way, they need to look a bit deeper. It's very, very rarely is it a one sentence answer.
Sure.
So the next question I've got from you, which again, look, it cannot really be that good. What does redox signaling actually do in the body?
It's a good question. That was my question. Like when I started this, I was really skeptical. So the placebo definitely didn't work on me because I didn't believe in it. And yet I had results. And so I kind of went, okay, well, what's going on here? Here's what I learned. Basically, redox signaling molecules play a lot of different roles in the body. If you think about all these different reductants and oxidants that you can make, they're signaling mechanisms. And so I think of like a piano where we can hit different keys and we hear a different sound. And so these molecules will go in and they'll do different things and we get a different result. And, some of the literature or some of the research that's been done that you can look at is looking at genetic signaling. So inside of a cell, right, everything has to communicate. And genetic expression, there has to be a signal that tells a certain gene to express. And when we're young and healthy and vibrant, our genes are kind of doing what they're supposed to do. But as we all know, stress, the amount of toxins in our environment, like it's impacting us. It's like epigenetics, like there is some impact on gene expression. And what they did with the ASEA is they found that, wow, when you put redox molecules in, we see that genetic expression increases. It goes back up. And these are genes like that help with your innate immune response, which is huge to just be able to have that, like your bodyguards of your cells back up. For the inflammatory response in the body, to get that under control, cardiovascular health, digestive enzyme production, hormone modulation, which like as women, I can't tell you how many people, it's like they're just off. And it's like, okay, well, now I have something that can signal the body to get that back. And these signaling like pathways, think of them like a domino effect. So if I signal on this, it's going to go on and do several things in the body. And so we're just kind of like creating this cascading response in the body. And now everything is lit up, everything's talking again. And that's just inside of the cell. But they also are the communicators between. And so I always just think like, I've always been fascinated by the body. It's why I study biology. But like, I used to look at a cut and go, like, how did my body know to go heal that? Like, you watch it happen and you're like, how is the scab forming? Like, what is going on? How does it know? And it knows because of communication. If there is damage, a call goes out. All right. And this is why a little bit of oxidative stress is good because it's like the smoke to the fire. It's letting the body know, hey, there's a signal happening. Let's come over and see what's going on. Let's go put out the fire. And that's what happens in the body. And that's why the body knows where to go exactly where the issues are. And I think what makes ASEA seem so unbelievable, like too good to be true, like, wait a second, one thing can do all of that. Like, I get it. But when you understand the mechanism of action, that it's going to help your body know where the damage is and where the problems are in your system. And it's going to be different. Like yours might be in your lungs, but the lungs or the cells in your lungs talk with the same redox as do the cells in your skin. Everything it's the same reductants and oxidants. And so when you replenish your body's supply and all of a sudden the cup gets filled back up, right? Because you stop making these molecules as efficiently after puberty. And now, as we're older, we're not communicating as well. Now you can fill it back up, and all of a sudden the body can hear where the issues are. And so where you have issues, and where I do, and where my dog does, all different. So we all use the ASEA, we're going to see different things. And I think that's why it sounds too good to be true. I get it. But when you stop and you go, okay, well, so what's actually happening? And you understand what's actually happening, it just makes sense. It's like it's the most foundational piece. And if you can get the cells healthy, well, that will trickle up to whatever tissue, organ, system of the body.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think this is why I'm so lucky, because as a holistic therapist, I do so much work with animals, and you
Yeah,
don't get a placebo effect with animals. Now,
I
I
know.
love placebo effect. I'm all for a good placebo effect.
Yeah.
Why would you not? But if you're looking to see something, is it actually working or not? You use it with animals and they've got no preconceptions about it. It
Yeah.
either works or it doesn't work. And even though this is absolutely marketed as a human supplement, the plants, as you've shown in some of your experiments, animals, humans, we're all powered at a cellular level on the redox. Danielle, I do like, one of our friends, Alan Noble, explained so beautifully about the mobile phone signals. And most of us quite understand. We're used to using these devices. We're used to understanding that if the signal's good, you're going to be able to make calls easily. If the signal's not great or you're out of signal, you're in trouble, regardless what make of phone you've got. Is
Yeah.
that a similar sort of way to how the signaling works within the body?
It's exactly the same. It's like if you have no signal on your phone, it's like a glorified camera, right? You
Yeah,
can't really do much of anything. And it's the same with your body. If communication breaks down, everything stops. I mean, we're talking nanoseconds. Like there would be a breakdown in your body if this communication wasn't happening. And so if you think about when you have less service, like if you've got one bar of service and you're trying to communicate, maybe a little bit can get out, but if you're trying to call 911 and say, hey, this is where I'm located and I need the ambulance here now, they're like, we can't hear you. Wait, you're in what city? Like, what's going
mm,
on? And they're not going to get there, even though they have the ambulance, they know somebody's hurt over here, but they can't figure out where to go. And it's the same in your body. Like, if you don't have enough communication, if you don't have enough signal, the body can't detect where the issues are, which is why things creep up and they become either a chronic issue or something you're going to the doctor for. And if you can establish communication again, the body is incredible, right? It has developed over like thousands and thousands of years to become what it is today. And when it's functioning optimally, like it knows how to take care of itself. And so ASEA doesn't treat, doesn't heal, doesn't cure, doesn't prevent anything. Redox signaling molecules basically just give the body back its ability to communicate and figure out what's off.
I love it, and it's so true. People, if you're watching and you're a little bit confused, do a little bit of research yourself and look at how many diseases are linked to inappropriate communication signals in the body, and you will be blown away. But
Yes.
okay, my next question, Danielle. I'm Mrs. Doubtfire here. You know, is there any science behind this? It's all very well, you're convincing me with all this, but is there actually any science to back this up?
Right. Sounds all fluffy and good. I remember when I met you, you grilled me
I
for
did.
like, show me and give it to me. And she made me talk to the company and like, get her in touch with people there. And yeah, so here's the thing. Some people are going to be disappointed. I'll just be point blank. Some people are going to be disappointed by the research because it's not specific. So it's not like, okay, we did a study with ASEA for people that, have COPD. And now this is the results, right? Because ASEA is not a drug. So I just want to make sure people understand like just the way that regulations work and just the society we live in. This is sort of the agreed upon. I don't know if we actually agreed to it, but it's the way that it works.
Yeah.
so, uh, so basically a drug, a pharmaceutical is allowed to do a test on a specific disease or illness so that they can make a claim and it's approved, by the FDA that, hey, this is the drug that helps with COPD. Great. ASEA is a cell signaling supplement. They actually made a conscious choice. They were going to sell it to a pharmaceutical company that was going to use it for specific drug applications, but they said, hang on, number one, well, they weren't so sure they would actually take it through testing. They might just shelve it. And number two, they said this doesn't really make sense because this is so far reaching, it's so broad spectrum that you would be limiting it, and it takes millions of dollars to go just for one drug application. So anyway, the choice was made at the beginning. You could argue with the choice, but the choice was made that, hey, we're just going to let this be a supplement so that people can utilize it for a lot of things, but it ties our hands behind our back on the research we can do. So the research you will see is structure function. So then you have to connect the dots to whatever state your body is in. Okay, well, if it's helping with the NRF2 pathway activating, well, what's that do? right? So that's a structure function thing. Okay, so redox molecules signal on NRF2. All right, let me learn. What does NRF2 do? It tells the nucleus of the body to go make glutathione. When your body makes glutathione, this is very different than exogenous, putting it in your system. And so your body makes glutathione, and the glutathione then goes and does its job. What's its job? Well, it helps with detoxification. It helps where there's inflammation in the system. Glutathione has a very specific role. And so then you go, okay, what's going on in my body? Do I have toxins in my system? Would it be beneficial for me to have something that activates NRF2, which has this ripple effect? Well, okay, I can draw that conclusion, right? You can connect the dots yourself. And so that's the research you're going to see. So you're going to see things like the genetic expression studies that was done by Torrey Labs, looking at the different pathways, and you can connect the dots. Okay, I'm having issues with sleep. Oh, well, this activates the genetic pathway that helps with circadian rhythm. Oh, okay, so maybe that'd be a good thing for me to take, to support with that. So we see studies like that. The other place where there's a little bit more flexibility is with athletic performance. And so some studies with athletic performance where they actually took mice and they put them on a wheel and had them run to exhaustion. Then they did a placebo of just salt water, right? And then ASEA for a week. And then they had the mice run again. And the group that was on the ASEA went 29% further before hitting exhaustion. Like mice don't just run further for the heck of it. Like they had the stamina. And so then they went, well, why? And they looked at their muscles. They spared more of their muscle glycogen. So what was happening is that they were burning fatty acids for fuel before the muscle glycogen. And so lactic acid wasn't building up. And so they weren't getting that. You've all felt it, right? When you've run too much or whatever, like your muscles just get like sore. You hit a wall. And they weren't hitting the wall because of the way that the redox was shifting how they were getting energy. And so again, think about your life. Would it be beneficial for you to be able to do a little bit more? Or like, do you get down on your energy? And like, would you like a little boost? You got to think about these things. You run around with grandkids or kids. Okay, maybe I'm not an athlete running on a treadmill, but I'm running around through life. Is this going to help boost me? Well, you can kind of, again, connect these dots. And so there is a lot out there. The other thing that I did when I started was I went to PubMed.gov, I went to Google Scholar, and I started looking at, well, what are laboratories saying that are studying redox signaling molecules? Again, so then I could connect the dots with, all right, well, this company has the ability to replenish my body's supply of redox. What could that mean? And I think could mean a lot. The last thing I'll say on this, like there was a paper in the Lancet Medical Journal, Dr. Watson of Watson and Crick, so the double helix, he wrote an article, and I'm going to get this wrong, but we can look it up, where I think it was like some cancers, like maybe a dementia. He basically named out a couple of disease states in the body. And he said, we've been looking at these all wrong. They're all redox imbalances. And that is the future. It's figuring out like, how do you get the redox state in the body stabilized? And we will see a lot of these things that are just an expression of an imbalance. When we can get them back into balance, well, what happens? Well, they go away.
Yeah. And as a holistic health practitioner, we know that the root cause of diseases, imbalances, whatever word you want to call it for yourself that resonates with you, the root cause is the same, and how it manifests in different people is different. So this fits beautifully with the whole holistic way of managing our health. It really does. But my next skeptical question, Danielle, if it's really this good, why isn't my doctor telling me about it?
I know. I've got doctors in my family. So,
Yeah.
Here's like the reality, and I have a family member that just went through medical school. And here's the reality, like doctors are trained in medical school to learn how to prescribe and make sure that prescriptions they're giving to people, drugs they're giving to people won't contraindicate, won't cause issues, that they get the right one for the symptoms that are showing in their patient. So they're taught about drugs and they're taught about surgery. And my grandfather was a lung doctor, and he said, as a pulmonologist, like I was taught to cut and prescribe. That's what I did. He said, I was never taught about nutrition. I was never taught about redox signaling. I mean, he was dealing with an issue that after he saw my results, he kind of finally said, well, I'm willing to try the Redox, and tried it. And he said, look, I can't even explain this to my friends. Like, and they call me Doc, like that's what he was known as when he retired. And he said, can you come and share it with them? Because I can't do it. I wasn't educated on this. And same with, you know, my family mother just went through it. It's just like med school focuses on diagnosing and managing diseases. All right. And it's not really focused on prevention. I've always thought, like, how amazing would it be if our doctors were paid not when we were sick, but they were paid to keep us healthy? It's like, well, where are the incentives? If they were paid to keep us healthy, well, then they would be looking at food as medicine, and what things can we do to be proactive in the body, and to help keep the balances right. And so doctors honestly are just not trained. I will say, these are typical MDs, right? And I have seen some of them get involved with using ASEA and sharing it, but because either they themselves or a loved one had a result with it. All right, because it didn't come in the normal way of learning about things from drug reps and everything else that they do, but they had something that was undeniable, so it opened their mind to it. I would say, like, integrative medicine doctors, functional medicine doctors, chiropractors, acupuncturists, they're a little bit more open-minded, more, I would say, like, forward thinking. Like, they understand that there are other ways to support the body, and so they're way more open. Naturopathic doctors, like, way more open to looking at these things, like, how do we support mitochondrial health, how do we support cellular health, like. And I will say, I'm excited to see that the consciousness of humanity is shifting. I think that was one of the blessings of what we all went through with the pandemic, where people went, hang on a second, why am I just blindly saying yes to stuff? Like, well, what could I do to keep my body healthy in the first place so that my immune system's strong? And that's, you know, that's why. And I think, honestly, part of the issue too is that it's network marketing, and people have this they shut down about that word, about that industry. They think, you know, it's tainted, it's snake oils, it's nothing that's reputable. And so that just automatically is discounted, which is unfortunate, you know. And like I say, for better or worse, like, this is the direction that they chose to take this product, and it's how it's coming to market. They're not going to change that. It's been 15 years. So people just need to get over that fact and realize that it doesn't matter how something is distributed. There are reasons for everything, and look at the quality of the product, right? And try it yourself. Like, that's what's nice about the topicals is, like, it's undeniable that signaling, like, does something into your system that you can feel, you know?
I love it. And I'm going to be even more controversial than that, and people can take it or leave it. Watch my Deprogram series that's on my YouTube channel, because depending where you're watching this in the world, we've all got different regulations for our vets, for our MDs, for our medical doctors. And some of them are very limited in terms of what they're allowed to prescribe. They have a set list of drugs and procedures, and they are only allowed to recommend from that. And I think a lot of people now are sort of saying, at the end of the day, if you're really healthy and everything's working out great for your current approach, I'm sure you're not looking for something else. But if something's not right, and, you know, we could all go, it's a completely different topic in itself, but just because something's approved as a pharmaceutical drug, we now know does not necessarily mean that it works or it's safe. So it's great for people to ask these questions. But also, I think we're all realizing with the censorship, we need to think outside the box. Ask your doctor, are you allowed to discuss natural remedies with me? Is this something you're trained in? Is this something you're open to? Is this something you're allowed to do? Have those conversations and open it up, I would say.
You know, Catherine, you just reminded me of something. When I first started sharing, I met a woman, we were at an acupuncture talk. It was just like a local seminar thing. And she was an MD. She was there. She was like, she just did like family medicine. And we got to talking about what I did and why I was there and whatever. And so she started trying the ASEA. She had great results. So I was like, well, great. Let's tell your patients about it. You know, do you want to, I can come in and I can do a little seminar, right? And she said, Danielle, my hands are tied.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to. And I was like, what? You know, I'm like, you took an oath to help people. I'm like, you have something that, like, there is no side effect. It absolutely cannot hurt someone. You know, it is going to be beneficial. You know, it's beneficial. And she said, I mean, best I could do is maybe, like, I'll scatter some stuff in the office. So if they pick it up and ask me, you know, that's a different conversation, but I cannot make a recommendation. It's like insurances, like, they can lose their license. And it's just, it was devastating to me. Like, I think I still had, like, I was still a little rosy-eyed about the profession because, my grandfather had done it, and I thought, well, they're doing their best, but it's like, yeah, there's good people. I'm not saying doctors are bad. They're not. They're just in a
No.
system has locked them in. And it's really frustrating. And I don't know. Hopefully it starts breaking. I think that it's starting to, but yeah, and you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
You
So, like,
completely. So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we're in a world now where it's up to us as the individuals to ask the questions. So Danielle and I, people are interested in ASEA, in redox signaling about what it could do for us. Have a conversation with us. There's no obligation at all. Have a conversation, because find out, open your mind, because I think so many people are saying, hang on a minute, how we've been told to live our lives isn't working out too great for us, and therefore definition of sanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If something's not working out for you, put your preconceived perceptions aside, because there's a lot of intellectual snobbery when it comes to the medical field. There just is.
There
Let's be
is. There
about
totally
it.
is.
But actually, if you need different solutions, you need to look somewhere different to where you have been before. Now, my
Yeah.
final question for you, Danielle, and we've covered this a bit, but I think it's so important. I just want to just cover it a little bit for people. Why cannot we say that this cures disease X or whatever?
Because it's not a drug. Bottom line is because it is in the category of being a supplement, and no supplement is legally allowed to make that claim. And so even like there are words that I didn't even realize were like claim words, like if you say the word pain, like that's a medical condition. So like you can't talk about that. And you have to respect the regulatory guidelines. Like, to be frank, like ASEA is so precious. It is so
Yeah.
precious. And if someone goes out there and starts making claims about, well, it's doing X or Y or Z, it could be shut down, And on some level, I understand, because there are people out there peddling stuff and making people spend money on just hoaxes and stuff that has no research behind it. It's not legitimate, isn't produced in a clean facility. Like, you don't know what you're getting. And there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. So I get that we have to have some sort of regulation on that. But unfortunately, because of these bad apples, the good ones also get sort of like held back, and lumped into a category where they also are sort of, like I said, hands tied behind their back with what they're allowed to show and prove that their product does. And so again, it's about asking the right questions, becoming a little bit wiser as to how it's all sort of structured in our society, globally too. I mean, I know it varies country to country, but it's pretty similar. And we just tell people, look, this restores the signaling in your body. If you can restore signaling on your cell phone, this becomes way more than a camera. Right?
Yeah.
I can talk to AI. I can get guided to go to some backcountry road, that I otherwise have no idea where I'm going. I can do so much because the potential is back in here because the signal. When you put the signal back in your body, you restore the potential of every cell to basically work at its optimum, which means your whole body is restored to work at its optimum. And it's a huge piece of the puzzle. Okay. It's just as big as like, why do you need oxygen? Well, because it sustains everything. Why do you need to be hydrated? We need to have hydration for our cells to work. Why do I need to eat food? Like when people ask me, why do I need redox? Like it's that foundational.
Yeah.
It was for a long time. They just thought it was impossible for you ever to be able to create or replenish the redox signaling. And now it's possible. And breakthroughs take time to penetrate into the mass market. There is always a chasm. It's called the law of diffusion of innovation. It takes time. And so you are just ahead of the curve. So kudos to you for listening to people like Catherine Edwards, for asking the questions, for letting this come into your awareness and being receptive to it, because you're learning something before the masses do.
I love it. So I hope this has put a little bit of clarity as to why this and its sister products are not just salt water. Do your own research. There'll be my contact details below. Danielle will have her contact details below. Reach out to us, ask the questions, start a conversation. Now is the time more than ever where we take back control and responsibility for our own health and that of our loved ones. And, that means doing things a little bit differently to how we've been programmed to do them up until now. So don't be afraid to ask the questions. Check out all the links below and let us know what else you want us to do videos on. Any final words from you, Danielle?
Sometimes things are just that simple. right? Sunlight, you go out, it does so much for you. Drinking water, having redox molecules put into your body. It sounds so simple, but it is essential, and it does make a massive difference. So just because it's simple doesn't mean it doesn't work, doesn't mean it's not powerful. And we look forward, honestly, to hearing your results. Like, it has been so fun listening to what happens as people begin using the ASEA and all the redox products. They're remarkable, and we look forward to helping you with them.
Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.